Cuffs are off, man. Get right. Too many left in these leagues, but I ain't gonna leave. I'ma get right. Get right. Down to the bottom and scratch it for all the...
Hey everybody, Adam Rank here.
What's up everybody? It's Marcus Grant.
This is AJ Dillon of the Green Bay Packers.
I got to give a shout out to y'all at Get Right Fantasy.
If you are not subscribed, what are you waiting for? You want to lose your league?
Our league. Check out the Get Right Fantasy Network.
You got to get right with the Get Right Fantasy Network.
Best of luck with your podcast. Appreciate the support.
And you're tuned in to watch my boys at Get Right Fantasy Network. Get you right. Enjoy the show.
But I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up. Yeah, go roll your sleeves up. And I'm getting down, cause I roll my sleeves up. And I'm getting right, cause I roll my sleeves up.
What up? What up? What up, world? We are back. I'm Anthony, aka Rasta, and this is Get Right Fantasy Network. And by the look on my boy's face here, it sounds like, is my mic still messed up or what?
Yeah, now it's bad. Now it's bad.
We've been sound checking it for like 10 minutes. All right, you take the show away, man. Run through it. I'll be back.
Real quick. What up, world? This is Frank here with Get Right Fantasy Network. We're here Monday, September 9th, here after the football games here have ended. Woo, what a good first week of football that we got started off here. I'm excited. I know Anthony is, but we are having technical issues, as you can hear. Sound a little bit underwater there, so we want to make sure we're sounding nice and crisp and clean for you guys to come on this show here. So, just to kind of go down what we're going over tonight, give you guys an idea of what's happening. We're doing just some major injuries, news, updates. Obviously, going over the top waiver wire ads. By position, we always do about 65% rostered or less. So, that's about a threshold that we use. Some people do less, some people do more. It's all about what you're looking for. Some guys in deeper leagues need less, obviously less rostered numbers. And some guys in more open leagues, 65 is good. We're going to go over the top performers, give out our game balls. And we're going to try something new this week. We're going to try to do the game panic or nah. But yeah, what's your favorite takeaways here from this weekend? And what you like? What you didn't like?
Yeah, man, it was just nice to have football again, man. And I realized, this is why we love to hate fantasy football, man. It's like we're so excited to have things happen. I lose on a freaking field goal in our main home league, but I'm trying to win a championship. Shout out to 4th and 20, man. Got me the L with Moody. Granted, I should have lost anyway.
Yeah.
Because he had CMC in his lineup and didn't have anyone to swap out. So it's pretty much a loss anyway. But those things hurt, man. At least when you're just drafted and mocking and doing things like that every week, it's fun. It's hey, if this would have been my team. But then you have guys like J.K. Dobbins, outscoring Jonathan Taylor, who you took at the 1-2 turn. So fantasy's back in full swing.
Right, right back into it. Talking about all these
right where we left off.
Top tight ends, dropping a goose egg for the most part.
Can't wait till we go over the top 5 tight ends.
Yeah.
None of them we even know. None of them we even know.
Exactly. So should be good. So let's get started off here. It's this week we're doing the Get Right Weekly channel rundown here. We're gonna let you know on Monday nights. Rasta and I are here. We're gonna do the Overreaction Monday show. Kind of again week 1 recap. Discuss top waiver wise, and go start looking into week 2. On Tuesdays, we're doing 7 p.m. with Tycoon, who hosts the Fantasy Boardroom. Wednesdays, we got 9 p.m. here, Rasta and myself again. We're doing the Roster Management Trade Talk show. That's his favorite show here, so be sure to tune in for that. We're going to discuss buy-sell candidates and hold targets. Thursday, we're doing 4 p.m. Phil hosts the Extra Point, leading into Thursday Night Football. Then what do we got the rest of the weekend?
Yeah, man. Then that takes us right into Friday, man. We split our Friday up instead of doing like a 3-4 hour show like we used to do. We're basically doing that, but instead of Classic Mike and I doing the whole thing, we're splitting it up now with our boys from the Extra Point and the Fantasy Football Tavern. We have Classic Mike and Kendall from the Tavern hosting part 1 of our must start and sit players show at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. So you East Coast folks will be able to get your questions asked and answered early in the day. And then our boy Phil and I will be back here basically right after that show at about 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific. What is that? 11 o'clock Eastern. We will host part 2 of the must start and sit shows. And so basically we're just taking the games, we'll split them in half. So that the 4 of us will basically cover all the games for you guys, so you won't be missing anything there. But it will give you more opportunities to ask more questions, and a little easier here on us instead of being on here for 3 or 4 hours. We'll kind of split it up, and hopefully just makes things better, for all of us. Of course, you can always reach us anytime, even when we're not live. If you do have your start sit questions, and Frank, why don't you tell them about that?
So the start sit here, actually I was doing something else. I think I caught me off guard. We're just gonna start talking about some of these guys that I'm totally honest, Anthony. I'm sorry, I totally lost us where we're at.
It's okay. I forgot to tell everybody about Classic Mike's Sunday morning show, the Active Inactive show.
The inactive,
so I apologize for that. So yeah, so make sure you guys subscribe. We had some tech. We're just off a little bit here. It's week 1, man. We're trying to get into the swing of things, switch from off season to in season schedule here. So again, make sure you guys are hitting that subscribe button for us.
I'll take that one for the refs, just like this week. It's like what is going on with those guys?
Everyone's warming up.
Everybody's warming up this week. Everything didn't go as planned, but that's football, and this is live show here. So yeah, just remember to subscribe, like if you're a new person. Even a like or a comment. Let us know. We'll start answering your questions here on the show. So we got the guys like the Extra Point, the Tavern, and the Boardroom in the links in the description. So make sure you check those out. We're also going to be adding timestamps and chapters. So if you guys just want to jump ahead right over to certain guys, see what our takes are on them, or the waiver wire ads, or the best ball, that we're going to give out, the top performers. That check out the timestamps. That gets us along here as well. So what's the new feature we got going on here, Ant?
Yeah, man. For those of you guys who don't know or were wondering, we had people asking us. We have finally officially opened up our super chats. So if you have an immediate question that you want answered while we're here live, make sure you guys just drop us a small super chat or however much you're feeling gracious to send our way. But what that'll do is catch our attention, make sure that we get to your question as soon as we can. We're not going to stop exactly what we're doing, but as soon as we get to that next break, in between topics or takes, we will get to your question. If you don't want to throw us a super chat, totally fine. We're still going to get to as many as we can. Drop them, your questions in the chat now. We're just going to save the Q&A section towards the end of the show and get to as many as we can, just depending on how quickly we get through the show, just to try to have a better flow for everyone. If you do have to go, just come back and make sure you check out the video tomorrow or whenever else you can. And again, use those timestamps to go right to the Q&A section, and you can listen there, and you'll have your question asked and answered there after the fact. So yeah, exactly. Again, it's not a must. We're not saying, oh, we're only taking super chats now. We're not that high and mighty quite yet, but at least if you want to get our attention right away, you could throw us a little bone that way, and we'd of course appreciate it, and give you the information we can. So enough of all that housekeeping, man. We're already almost 10 minutes in, so let's get this thing going. Let's get our sleeves rolled up, man. Week 1 in the books, heading into week 2. A lot of new, I don't want to say a lot of injury news, but some significant, injuries that did happen. It is football. Yes. Things are going to happen. And they happened right away, of course, starting tonight with CMC, the 101 in most people's draft. Didn't play today on a Monday, so that put a lot of people in a weird spot. Hopefully he did pick up Jordan Mason, like Tresner said. He said he just got some new Jordan Mason underwear on Amazon, so it looks like with his big game, we probably have a couple people who maybe won their week because of that. So he kind of put up CMC type numbers, so that is pretty exciting there. So you ready to get into this thing?
If the season here is over here, let's check it out. I mean, obviously one of the first topics we were going to go over, Cowboys Dak signed a 4-year, $240 million, $60 million per year extension that will make him the highest paid player in the NFL right now. And every year there's a new threshold being met and beaten. So good for him. They paid CD and Dak. Now it's time for Parsons. and they look good. I mean, shoot, had a nice decisive victory over the Browns. So they're showing full stride measurements. It wasn't as pretty as you wanted it to be, but it got the job done. So kudos to them. Who else we got here as far as injuries? At?
Yeah, so just some quick things. Obviously, the big injury happened actually in the Friday night game. Jordan Love going down with that MCL to his left knee, comes back again as an MCL sprain. They expect him to be back on the field hopefully sooner than the initial 3 to 6 week line. But they're basically focusing now on getting Malik Willis prepared to start and Sean Clifford as the backup there. So we'll go over a couple quarterbacks here that you could potentially pick up if you did have Love as your starting quarterback there. Another big thing we got here was a wide receiver for the Rams, Puka Nacua. He has a PCL sprain to his knee, re-aggravated that injury he had in the preseason. It looks like he pretty much escalated pretty quickly when that news came through. They did put him on IR, so he will miss the next 4 games. They're hoping that he will be ready to come back once he does come back off those 4 games. So it looks like, what is that going to be? Probably week 6 would be his return. So he'll be in your IR spot for a while. We'll kind of go over a couple, wide receivers here that you might be able to find to at least maybe get on your bench as you promote other people up. Yeah,
Cooper
for sure.
Kupp stepped right back up. He looked like the Cooper Kupp of old.
21 targets.
Yeah, that was nice. So
not very efficient. Not very efficient. But
hey, it's kind of like who was it? The Ravens. Was he thrown behind the line? I mean, after Jeffrey Carter was less than one yard or something during that game.
Something like that. At one point, I think he had like a 1 point something yard A dot. That's just because their line is awful, so they got to get it out fast, or he was just taking it and running. So,
it just is what it is. It's not always nice, but 21 targets, PPR, we'll take it, right?
For sure. And when we get into our waiver wires here, we'll get into more, guys there as well that you could potentially pick up. Another injury you have is Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison. Looks like he re-aggravated his ankle injury. Remember, the news came out that it was kind of like a high ankle sprain, like right before the weekend or kind of in the weekend that information came out. I think we talked about it on our Friday show. Said he was going to be good to go, but re-aggravated after making a couple nice catches early. So we'll keep our ear out on that, but I don't expect him to be active this next week. So we'll see what happens there. You have Bears wide receiver, and this kind of happened a little late. Rome Odunze dealing with that grade 1 knee sprain. They're saying he is week to week. Sounds like he'll probably miss this next game. So we'll see what happens. You have Seahawks running back after having a big game. Ken Walker late in the game dealing with an abdomen injury. He says he's good. So we'll see what happens there. Zach Charbonnet did score on a receiving touchdown there in that game. But it was pretty much Ken Walker as the bell cow there before that injury happened. Miami running backs, both Devon A-Chain dealing with an ankle and Raheem Mostert dealing with the chest injury. So we'll talk about a potential Jalen Wright addition you can make here for this waiver wire run. And that's what Tresner said. How bad is the A-Chain injury? They listed him. They didn't really practice today since they have the short week. But they did list him as limited or non-participant. I think it was. They listed him as non-participant. He would have been estimated as a non-participant today. So we'll just have to keep our eyes and ears out for any updates coming through. But again, it could be a Jalen Wright week here, making his debut against the Bills here on Thursday. So let's see, what else do we got going on? A couple more things here just quickly. Cowboys tight end Jake Ferguson. He had a scary knee injury, but MRI came back. Looks like he's just dealing with the bone bruise and a sprained MCL to his left knee. They're saying there's even a chance he could still play this Sunday against New Orleans. Coach came out, said that he'll be with the return to play group on Wednesday. Return to play. I didn't know that was a thing. So I wish they would designate that with a lot more people moving forward. So I'd like to kind of hear in that little nugget So it's, if anything, maybe he's just missing a week. But of course, we'll go over a couple tight ends you might be able to pick up here. This is the Waiver Wire show. And then another tight end that got hurt, he will be out for a while. Mr. Brown's tight end, Mr. David Njoku, one of the show favorites, or at least one of my favorites last year. Of course, he was on my underdog team that won me 42nd place out of 70,000. We'll get into that later. Shout out to Underdog, promo code Get Right. But he's dealing with looks like a right high ankle sprain. He left in a walking boot, so looks like he's going to miss some time there. So that's pretty much the main kind of news, injury news there. A couple small things, linemen, defensive players, things like that, that we don't get too much into here. But as far as significant fantasy players, these are the guys we're going to be keeping an eye on throughout the next week or two here. So let's get into some waiver wire ads.
Some shout outs here. Great week, guys. I'm happy with my teams. Did well, even with my loss. Still showed up, and I'm happy with my drafts. Thanks for all the mocks. They helped out a lot. So yeah,
there we go.
Just getting those mocks in, it really makes you very well prepared for your actual drafts, and you don't misstep as much when somebody gets sniped right in front of you. You're ready to, change routes and go different directions quickly and not have a problem. What's up with Squidward? How's Walker? Heard he's good. Yeah, we just went over Walker, I think, right?
Yeah, we just talked about him. And yeah, so again, make sure you guys, you can drop your questions here in the chat. We'll try to pull them up if we can. But remember, any major questions we'll save till the end so that we can get through the show here. If you do want us to read your comment or question right away, you can throw us a super chat. So that is active there for you. So just let us know. Otherwise, let's get into these top waiver ads. So we like doing them here just kind of by position to make it a little easy. So let's talk quarterback waiver ads for week 2. So I'll start with the first one since he finished as the QB1 overall, my most drafted quarterback in Underdog Fantasy, Mr. Baker Mayfield. So Baker comes in currently at 42% roster percentage on Sleeper, 35% rostered on Yahoo. Ends up with a 4 touchdown game. Shake and Bake was shake and baking out this week. So it was definitely nice to see. 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, had just 3 carries for 21 yards, 24 completions on 30 attempts. So it wasn't a high flying volume attack. It wasn't like an air raid, but very efficient. They were able to move the ball, run it well with Bucky Irving. I think Rashad White had like 75 yards. Godwin had a nice day. Evans had a nice day, 2 touchdowns there as well. So just, overall offense was playing really well. Baker seems in command of this offense. And so, the big thing too that I heard during the broadcast that I like to hear was the fact that the coaches were saying, to him, like, hey, you've earned this job. This is your job now. You don't have anyone looking over your shoulder. Obviously, they paid him, over 100 million, to take this team. So, he doesn't have to play as careful. He's willing to, air it out and do the things he needs to do and not kind of, play walking on eggshells. And I think we saw that, kind of happen here. And I think good things are to come. Granted, it was against Washington, who gave up the most points to the quarterback position last year. So we'll see what happens, but definitely has a nice, 3 games ahead, 3 or 4 games ahead. So if you are the Jordan Love owner, maybe Shake and Bake is someone you can go after. You get at Detroit next in a dome against a high-powered offense, so should be a nice shootout there. Then you're back at home against Denver. We saw that offense and defense is not great outside of Pat Surtain there in Denver. And then they get home against Philly, who just had a nice shootout with Green Bay, speaking of which. And then at Atlanta, at New Orleans, we'll take you through week 6 before it kind of gets tough against New Orleans and Baltimore with those defenses. So for sure, these next 4 weeks, which kind of lines up perfectly with the Love injury, I would definitely consider Baker Mayfield as one of the top waiver wire ads if you're that Jordan Love owner. What about you, Frank? Who else you got on your quarterback list?
Well, the other one was, we have here, I was looking at Geno Smith, tell you the truth.
There you go.
He was way late in the drafts. He had a decent day. And, somebody again, like you mentioned, maybe if you miss out on Baker Mayfield, he might even be taken in your league, and maybe you'll look at guys like Geno Smith, 18 to 25 passing, 171 yards and a touchdown, 119, not too bad, but it's still decent numbers over there. And again, if you need to pick somebody up, some of these guys are still out here. They were late, really late drafting quarterbacks for people who went, zero QB, and they just kind of waited and waited. Some of these guys might still be available as well, though. I mean, they're putting up some decent numbers. And again, if you're the Jordan Love owner, you're going to have to take what you can get at this point, right?
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, it isn't great. You're right around that 20-point mark. The big thing with Geno is he did get 30 yards rushing on the ground. He had that big run for a touchdown, which was outside his 33-year-old self.
Yeah.
Not used to seeing Geno move around like that. But it was nice to see that it's at least in the repertoire. So it's there. He's not afraid to go make it happen. He does get at New England next week. So again, we thought might have been a good matchup, but after what they just did to Cincinnati, maybe we might have to hold our horses there. That New England defense kind of came to play, or maybe just Cincinnati's all over the place with all the drama with Chase.
Just kind of just shit the bed on that. Yeah.
There you go. So so that's a good one. Another one I had on my list was Matthew Stafford. So you had Matt Stafford come out, obviously, dealing with the Puka injury, but just kind of went back to what was comfortable for him. And that safety blanket with Cooper Kupp getting his 21 targets. He did finish with 317 yards. So one of these 300-yard passers didn't quite get the touchdown. Kyron had a touchdown, a rushing touchdown as well.
Yeah.
And so, ended up one touchdown, one pick. Only 16.68 fantasy points, but does get Arizona next week at Arizona. And we just saw Josh Allen put up 4 touchdowns against that sieve of a defense. So that could be, again, another consolation prize. Maybe if the hot, guy is Baker. But, all 3 of these guys are guys, obviously, if you lose Jordan Love, you're probably going to want to put a waiver claim in for one of the 3. Or if you're, fab bidding, you'll probably kind of tear it down. But I saw you had one more you want to put, and then I'm going to ask you to rank these guys in order. So go ahead.
What I did want to add real quick, since you mentioned Kyron Williams, I know that people were tripping because they put him down as the punt returner or whatever here. And obviously don't panic, because Kyron got the full workload. Definitely the clear number 1 over there.
Don't get sidetracked. We're talking quarterback waivers. So bring it back around.
I just want to mention that. But the last guy that you want to mention, deeper guy here, whatever, Justin Field did get the start over there in Pittsburgh. 18 to 10, 17 to 23, 156 yards, had 57 yards rushing. So if you want a rushing quarterback, not, again, this is deeper league stuff here, because, the other 2 aforementioned guys would probably be better pickups. But if you don't have them guys available, well, this is be basically your last guy out there that, is worth it something. Might even have a Sam Darnold, but, that's still out there. He still had a decent game, even just to kind of mention him, you know what I mean? Because I know he's not the greatest numbers, but if you needed somebody, there's somebody. So you know what I mean?
For sure. So of the guys we talked about here, Baker Mayfield, Matt Stafford, Geno Smith, and Justin Fields, if you had to put those guys in order, what order would you be getting? Let's say if you are the Jordan Love manager and you were putting staggering fab bids there, what order are you? How much, not how much fab, but what percentage of fab are you?
I'd say you read it off. I'd say if you're Geno Smith owner, Baker Mayfield, like 15% of your fab, go 10% on Stafford, maybe, 5% on Geno, and $0 bid on
maybe like
Fields.
$1 or $2, on Fields if you need to, if he's there. Because Wilson was suited. He was the QB3 emergency quarterback in pads. Wasn't like he was in street clothes, so maybe not necessarily like a CMC issue where it sounds like Jordan Mason was, kind of maybe informed Friday that CMC may not play by Monday. So that should wrap up your top QB waiver wire ads that we kind of felt here. Of course, there are, a couple others, but these are the ones we thought, we're going to get the most priority that you should kind of target here coming in week 2, especially with that Jordan Love injury. All right, so let's move on here.
Some running backs.
Let's do running backs. So running back waiver wire ads for week 2. I'll go with the low hanging fruit and go with the guy on our thumbnail. See, I went out of order on you. J.K. Dobbins. I don't want to say our guy, kind of my guy. He was one of my most drafted underdog players as well too. You guys kind of heard me talking about Dobbins. Everyone was saying Gus or Kamani Vidal because of the price. You can get him even later. They didn't like J.K. Dobbins' injury history. You're getting him basically for free. The funny thing is it's the same offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, the same 2 running backs that were in Baltimore. And when they were there, JK was the starting running back, like by a lot, like almost like the workhorse. The reason why Gus even really saw the field was because JK kept getting hurt. So it's not a surprise to me. Maybe it's a surprise to other people that he did what he did. Granted, I wasn't drafting him as like my second quarterback, or second running back, off the board or anything like that. But J.K. Dobbins like sitting here at 59% owned on Sleeper, 50% on Yahoo. Has the big day with 135 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Probably could have broke a couple others. That's just showing you he still is kind of working him way back from those major injuries. There was a couple of those runs that he could have probably broken off, but it was definitely good to see. A 13.5 yard average, 10 carries, 135 yards. Got worked in the passing game, not too much, 3 catches only for 4 yards, but you like the 3 catches in a full PPR league. That's good enough for 21.4 fantasy points. And it doesn't look like he's going anywhere until he gets hurt. So for now, I wouldn't go crazy and break the bank on him because that injury risk is still there. But if you are kind of hurting, you need somebody, nice depth piece for as long as he's healthy. I think he's the number one there in
Gus then?
Los Angeles, then go get him.
Are we dropping Gus then?
Dropping who?
Gus.
Oh, Gus? Literally just drop Gus for JK?
Yeah.
I don't know if you could do that. I mean, if you want to, like if you're invested in that, I mean, I'd rather not hold both of them. Again, I didn't really draft Gus, so I already had JK personally, so I don't know if I'm the right
But I mean,
qualified person to ask that.
That's what I'm just saying. Like, would you?
Yeah. I don't think the Gus owner is going after JK right away, like unless you're trying to like swap him out. But for me, if you have Gus, you're just maybe hoping JK gets hurt and then it goes to Gus. But Gus didn't look that great. To me, he's still technically out carried Dobbins, I think, by 1 carry. So he still out touched him, even though Dobbins looks so much better. But maybe that's just Greg Roman and Harbaugh not wanting to put too much on his plate too early, kind of just ease him back into the action. So very efficient. And again, it was the Raiders defense, so let's not get too excited either. Who do you got? Who do you got as a running back you want to talk about?
Low-hanging fruit that you thought you were going to go with your
I
guy
passed
there.
on. I'll let you. I like hearing you talk about good things about my Niners.
Mason here. I mean, the guy had an incredible night tonight. Had some great carries. 28, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 catch for 5 yards. That wasn't the big deal. But the guy was putting it down on the ground. Literally put this team on his back and started carrying them in there. I think he's going to be the top waiver wire ad of the week. I don't think that he's going to replace CMC by any means or anything like that, because obviously CMC is much better. However, I think that he is going to start biting into his time just to keep CMC fresher for longer, keep him healthier. We were talking about it during the game, and my counterparts were like, nah, he's not going to be worked in. We got the best running back. I said they need to give him a break. If they were smart, they would give him a break. You know what I mean? And that's why, Mason at the worst is, a locked-in handcuff, because you've seen what he's capable of doing with this offense. So you at least have to do that and handcuff the guy, right?
Yeah, if you're the CMC owner, then probably your number one priority is to get Jordan Mason on the team. He did pick up steam, obviously, with CMC dealing with that injury heading into kind of the last week of draft season there. So maybe on some of those teams that people had drafted, or maybe people ran waivers kind of that week 1 and were able to get them just in case. But again, according to what we see here, only 2% owned on Sleeper, which is just insane to me. I had to keep refreshing and double checking that.
Right,
58% owned on Yahoo. So I'm like, is this just not right? Because 2%, I know Tycoon, I think owns him in in our Dynasty League. So he might be
is
like the
the
only
2%.
one on Sleeper. Yeah, like he's the only one on Sleeper that has him. Or maybe it's somebody else. I don't even know if it's him. That I think he had Eli Moore or Elijah Mitchell actually.
I think that's what it
But
is.
yeah,
I think that the sleeper people had Elijah Mitchell and haven't made a move yet.
that adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So either way, only
let's see who it
2% on
really is.
Sleeper as of right now. So just make sure you check it out. Obviously, with what we've seen, and that's again, it wasn't like going up against the Chargers or the Raiders or some other Civ defense. This was the New York Jets defense, man. They got a good line. Quentin Williams. I mean, they just got a ton of names on that side of the ball. And our line's not even that great. And I think Banks went down in this game as well too. And we were, Mason was still churning out, yards, and it was just good design and good yardage there. So Mason, I definitely agree with is going to be one of the top ads, just because again, we're not sure how long CMC is going to miss, and even if and when he does come back, if somebody does drop him when they start hearing CMC come back, I would just go grab him just to hold him and see for a week or two, because you never know if that calf flares up again and he's out for another week or two. Remember, the Niners are playing for the long haul. They're not just playing to put people in the seats. We have plenty of other talent there. I'm not wearing my Niners hat today, so people don't just know I'm a Niners fan. But yeah, so it's like, it's not like, oh, we're just trying to put people in the seats. Like, we're trying to win a Super Bowl, so we're going to make sure he's healthy. And if Jordan Mason, we can ride him. I think he got 28 carries. That's the most carries that any running back has received under the Shanahan era. So that just tells you they're feeding him. And no other running back got a carry in the backfield. No Garendo, no Patrick Taylor. It was Debo as the RB2 back there getting worked in. So, yeah, I mean, it was interesting. Obviously, you could see still a little rusty. Niners weren't able to finish a lot of drives. But the ones that they did, we were still able to put some points on the board, still scored over 30. So that's good things for your running back that can just ice the game away.
Nice.
So who else you got?
Here's a guy I picked up actually before this game. The games and when that happened was Justin Hill over in Baltimore. He was
Justice.
He was doing some good catching. Honestly, he only carried the ball once, but 3 yards, but caught the ball 6 times. 8 yards, for 8 targets, 52 yards. Albeit in the loss there, but he was heavily used in the passing attack, and it's really nice to see that. To get somebody over there, and it's worth a shot to get a guy on your team. Again, he's not breaking the bank, but definitely somebody that you could go after, especially in deeper leagues. Only 11% owned in Sleeper, 4% in Yahoo, so widely available.
See, there has to be something wrong with my roster percentage, because my roster percentage says 0% rostered on Justice Hill, and I'm like, I know I have him in like 3 teams, like just myself. So that percentage on Mason has to be wrong. You want to look that up for me on your Sleeper for whatever reason, and see if
Yahoo says 4%, ESPN says 3%. Let me check Sleeper.
Yeah, check Sleeper, because mine says 0. So we'll get to the bottom of that. But yeah, man, I agree with you there. Just it looked like, if Baltimore is going to be behind, which the way their line's looking and things like that, I think Justin Hill is going to be a good ad. I think he is just going to be the Tajay Spears of Tennessee, last year, playing that third down role and that 2-minute hurry up offense there in Baltimore. And, with their defense not as good as it was last time, there's going to be opportunities for Justice Hill, to have some catches. Again, 8 targets, 6 catches, so heavily involved there. And a lot of the stuff was design stuff out of the backfield, or just Lamar had people in his face, and if he couldn't run, he was just kind of dumping it off to him. So it's going to be, it could put up points on the board for you, 11.5. It could be a nice flex, or kind of a bye week filler for you here coming up in these upcoming weeks. Just pay attention to the matchup. If Baltimore's favored, then I'd probably sit them. But if they're expected to be in a shootout or a close game or even behind, then I would absolutely, take a flyer on someone like Justice.
Yeah, and my Sleeper says 59% rostered.
Okay, so yeah, something must be just going on with my Sleeper right now.
Yeah,
because I was like, "There's no way."
He's still in the threshold that we're talking about here, but he's kind of rostered as Sleeper.
It's definitely not 2. Yeah, I was like, there has to be something weird with that. So anyway, all right. So any other? We probably don't need to go in full on discussion, but any other kind of honorable mention?
Tank Bisbee, I really like.
That's a good one.
He was good. Some good numbers over at Tampa Bay.
No, Tank Bigsby. He's with Jacksonville Jaguars.
Sorry.
You're talking about Bucky Irving, probably.
Bucky Irving is the other one that I'm looking.
He's on the mind.
He's the other one. So he led
These
the
guys
rushing
both should be joined
rush.
together.
Yeah, exactly. Really, right?
Because they outrushed the number one running back on their team.
On their own teams, right?
Even though, because the number one guy is more the passing guy as well, too, ETN, and Rashad White, who, again, we said had like 6 catches, 75 yards, but actually outgained on the ground. Bigsby and Irving both outgained ETN and Rashad White on the ground as far as rushing efficiency. So, yeah, two good names. Sorry to jump in on you there, but you did good, yeah.
Hey, good saving, because I did have one mixed up, but I had Bucky over in my mind, so it's a technical. But Bigsby is just 11% owned on Sleeper, 5% on Yahoo. He did carry the ball 12 times for 73 yards, as you mentioned, outpacing his counterpart there. Worth the look. Same thing for Bucky Irving. You know, you want to get some of these guys that are actually getting the touches, and this is a telltale sign. This is when I start saying, okay, this is what we're seeing, and when it's really mattering. Like, you can project these things or not, but when they're actually on the field. But again, let's not overreact. It is week 1. Some crazy things happened this week. A lot of guys that
and it was Washington, for the record. Bucky was going up against Washington,
and so don't overreact too much. But it's definitely, if you have the room, some of these guys I would carry over some of the other guys you may have in your teams that you realize, like Kamala Vidal, not going to be touching the ball anytime soon. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you could switch over to this guy. He carried the ball 9 times for 62 yards, caught 2 passes for 14 yards. Bucky Irving there. Again, both of these guys are Bixby's 11% Sleeper, 5% Yahoo. Bucky Irving is only 19% on Sleeper or Yahoo, I think it was. So very low owned percentage, so you can definitely find them out there in the waiver wire. And it may not even get looked at by some of the other guys. So you might be able to sneak them in.
For sure. And I see some stuff going on in the chat, and we do see it there with you guys. We will have our live Q&A section here towards the end of the show. If you do want your team rated or a question or a comment for us to get to right away, you can drop us a super chat. We'll get to it in between our different segments here. If not, just hang around until the end. If you do have to go, you can just catch it tomorrow on the recording. Just use the chapters down in the description. They'll be there. Just go to the live Q&A section if you want to skip all this part and get the answer to your question. So we're still going to get to as many questions that we can. We're just going to kind of keep it a little more organized than we used to do and just get crazy in the chat. So Reese and Thomas, we see you there. And just quickly, Thomas, you can rewind back to our QB waiver ads, which was just the previous segment, to hear about some of the quarterbacks we have. And we'll get to your specific question here in the live Q&A when we get to that section. So other than that, we'll anybody else, any other honorable mentions for potential running backs you want to
lastly
mention?
Charbonnet,
especially with KW3 dealing with that abdomen injury. You never know. So get Charbonnet on your
team. And what's going on with that. So definitely try to take a look at him. He's another guy throwing up some really nice.
He was someone I was like drafted in like the 9th or 10th round anyway. So like I'm surprised he's even available out there. But
he's 40% Yahoo, 62% ESPN. What is he over here on Sleeper?
I showed 56%, but I don't know if I believe my things anymore.
We can't trust anything anymore.
I don't know if I trust myself on those ownership percentages.
Because Mike was giving me different numbers when we were talking earlier.
Oh, see, now it's saying 69%. So I don't know. Maybe waivers are running in different places and things are going crazy.
Well,
I don't know what's
happening
going
is people have open waivers. There's a lot of people that have open waivers, so it's just
that's right.
They're
people just grabbing.
They're just people just grabbing. Hey, waivers open. They're just grabbing a guy. They're not waiting till Tuesday.
There we go.
Those are also fun too. But I mean, you got to be aware that that's the situation in your league, so that you're not waiting till Tuesday or Wednesday. Because I'll wait. I know that most of the majority of my leagues won waivers, so I'm in no hurry on a Sunday to run after that guy. You know what I mean? Like I can sit back and enjoy.
I used to be all about open waivers, but now that I'm in 19 different leagues, like close those bad boys. Let me do all my waiver runs Tuesday night, and then open up and see what happens Wednesday morning to see if I won or not. I like that. It's like Christmas morning every Wednesday for 17 weeks. So
unwrap your gifts, right?
Exactly. All right, so let's move on here. Let's keep it moving. We have the top wide receiver ads for the week. Frank, I'll throw this one over to you because I couldn't really, because like I draft so wide receiver heavy, like I got wide receivers upon wide receivers on my bench. So like I'm not in these situations. So based on kind of the list of guys that were out there, like these are guys that like if I'm starting these guys in week 2, like things are real tough. So I couldn't really come out here and say I had like a top wide receiver ad. There was really no major injury besides Puka Nacua, but people are already drafting Cooper Kupp in that situation. So I actually think Parkinson is actually the better come up, and we'll talk to that about that here when we talk tight ends. But as far as wide receivers, I saw you had a couple that you wanted to mention, so I'll throw it over to you and tell me about your wide receiver ads.
I just threw in some guys, and as you mentioned, the wide receiver's so deep, and so many guys are out there, and really not many injuries in the wide receiver. That's why we draft a lot of good wide receivers so they can stay healthy throughout the season and continue to perform for your fantasy teams. But if you happen to have some needs, those guys like Demarcus Robinson, he went out there, ends up with 4-7 targets, 42 yards over there in the Rams. Again, Stafford was one of the waiver wire pickups for quarterbacks. Another guy who's going to benefit from the Puka being out type of situation. So, somebody to take a look at there. Another guy that low percentage did have some good numbers is Brandon Cooks over there in Dallas as well. But I think he got a slight injury situation, if I remember correctly, towards the end of the game. Something popped up, but he had a pretty good week. 4-7 again, 40 yards and a touchdown over there. So they were obviously honing in a lot on CD. So Brandon actually did take advantage, and then as well as Jake Ferguson going down with that knee injury during that game also didn't help. But again, 21-yard pass from Dak to the house. Is nice. I'm not saying he's going to get a touchdown every week, but
that's all they did last year. I have him on several best ball teams.
Yeah, 5 for 40, 5 to 60. Touchdown here and there. That'll do you. It's good enough. You know what I mean? Kind of wide receiver 3 status.
I'll flex with him.
Yeah, exactly. I'll flex with him. Right. Greg Dortch is the last guy that I'm looking at here. Again, low ownership percentages. Did good over there for Arizona. What he ended up with 6 to 8, 47 yards. So again, played about 60% of the snaps over there. So getting 28% target share. Another guy you may want to look at. So slim pickings in the wide receiver situation though. These are more deeper league guys, and again, based on heavy need, obviously, because most of you probably have enough bench guys that you could just start up some of the bench guys. And
if you drafted with us here in the off season, you can absolutely absorb a wide receiver injury in week 1. You should be able to, at least if we taught you anything. But with that said, there are a couple guys actually that I have as just kind of stash candidates. Not necessarily like I'm going out and spending a ton of fab, and I'm not dropping other guys that I might need. Put that. We'll get to Q&As in a second. Guys that will.
My bad.
Okay, no, it's all good. So a couple guys that I'm like, okay, can you stash them? Maybe waivers run and you go grab them after if nobody picks them up. I'm not dropping like some certain players that I kind of want to see, maybe some rookies, some lotto tickets that you drafted that didn't pop week 1. You're not expecting them to, so I'm not just getting off them right now for these guys, but some guys I kind of want to keep my eye on. Allen Lazard, we said somebody else had to catch passes there besides.
Miss him.
Oh, my bad. Well,
go ahead. No.
All right. So Allen Lazard, there's, we always were talking about somebody needs to catch passes over there besides Garrett Wilson. It obviously wasn't Tyler Conklin. I don't know. His 87 targets in 3 years straight might be in jeopardy this year. Of course, he was like my number 1 drafted tight end on Underdog. So hopefully there's more to come there. I mean, just Niners are a tough defense, so I'll just kind of chalk it up to that. But Allen Lazard, man, comes out of this game with 9 targets, 6 catches. Did get 2 touchdowns. One of them was on that typical Aaron Rodgers play where he gets him to jump off sides and just hit him down the seam for a touchdown. The other touchdown actually came from Tyrod Taylor late in the game when he scored there, which was like their second best drive of the game. Yeah. But, again, we've been talking about it. Somebody needs to catch passes over there. It wasn't Corley. It wasn't Mike Williams or whoever. I think he was maybe on a limited snap. I don't even think I heard his name called once. I honestly forgot he was playing until literally right now. As I was thinking about it, I remembered Corley more than I remembered him. He was definitely on my do not draft list. So Allen Lazard. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Obviously, we know he's a favorite of Aaron Rodgers. So again, just someone I kind of want to keep my weird eye on, so to speak. The other guy is going to be the wide receiver 8 overall this week, Mr. Alec Pierce. When I thought it was going to be a giant day for AD Mitchell, which it still could have been. Like, they both could have ate had Anthony Richardson just hit him on those 2 passes. He could have been sitting with 2 big touchdowns himself. But on probably one of the best throws of the day, that Anthony Richardson throw to Alec Pierce in the end zone was a great play. He ends up with only 3 catches, but 125 yards and that big touchdown. So, just keep an eye on him. Like, I still like AD Mitchell. I'm not dropping AD Mitchell for Alec Pierce. But if I don't have AD Mitchell, I might grab Alec Pierce because you never know. Again, the things you got to worry about, Josh Downs might be coming back here pretty soon. And then, of course, Michael Pittman had a down game. I haven't been really big on Pittman, but I'm sure defenses are just trying to take him out.
Yeah.
So, guys like, and that's why I thought AD Mitchell was going to eat with no Josh Downs. So those are definitely 2 guys that I'd want to kind of keep my eye on if they're out there. Not worried so much about Ashton Doolin with that 54-yard touchdown. Again, everyone's catching bomb touchdowns except for the guy that runs 4-3 on that team that should have been catching the big touchdowns. But there's more to come. So those are a couple of my kind of stash guys, not necessarily waiver wire ads that I'm being aggressive about, but if waivers run and I have a bench spot to mess around with, or someone to throw an IR to pick up a wide receiver with potential in potentially high-powered offenses. Those are guys I'm looking
I totally
for.
forgot about Lazard, and I thank you because he brought it up to me. We were doing a best ball draft, and I think I had Rogers late.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, I remembered.
On our best ball mania, I think you had him.
Yeah, and then I messed up
2
on the
touchdowns.
The quarterback situation, so I ended up getting Aaron Rodgers, and then he was my last pick as a.
I was like, you got to get a stack in there. You got to get somebody. Get Lazard.
And he's like, get Lazard. And I said,
the Lazard King.
You mentioned him right now, and we were watching the game. I was like, was that Lazard? And then he got the last touchdown again, that, garbage time touchdown. I was like, well, shoot, Lazard
2 touchdown game
hey.
out of your 18-round pick. That's how we do it here on Get Right Fantasy, man. That's good stuff. Good stuff.
That's why that's when you said that. I was like, oh, I forgot to bring him back up. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Good call.
Very good. Very good. All right. So that's pretty much it. Like you said, Demarcus Robinson, because of the whole Puka situation, he only had 7 targets over there, 4 catches, 42 yards. But yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to kind of skim through the list again, make sure I didn't miss anybody else. But yeah, I mean, I'm not picking up any Cincinnati guys, even with, Higgins potentially still being out, Yoshiva and what's his name over there, Irwin, and whoever else they got over there, Burton. None of them did anything. The whole Cincinnati offense is a joke at the moment. All right, so let's move on. Let's get on to our next top waiver wire ads. This is going to be the tight end position. So I'll just, we both kind of have the same guy, right? So this is Isaiah Likely. I think this is the one everyone's kind of running to go get. I'm kind of pumping the brakes just a bit. If you go back, I think they charted all of Mark Andrews' rate because I was kind of heavily invested in Mark Andrews this year. So obviously I was kind of upset with his week 1 performance. So as I was kind of doing research over the weekend, since that game obviously came out on Thursday, I heard a lot of, people were charting it saying that he was basically double teamed. Like, they were basically taking him out of the game and making Lamar throw to anyone else. And so obviously the beneficiary of that was Isaiah Likely. I don't think this is a changing of the guard or, anything like that. I'm not panicking on Mark Andrews. If anything, we all assume or think probably Mark Andrews is better than Isaiah Likely. So imagine if it's Andrews that's getting all that work and not Likely. So again, the fact of the matter is they don't really have a true wide receiver 1 there. It is Zay Flowers, but he's more kind of like that Amon-Ra St. Brown number 1, kind of working in the slot. You mentioned the low ADOT as well. Just with that line is going to be tough this year. But I think, Likely will still have, some good weeks, 100 plus yards and a touchdown, almost 2 touchdowns every week. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it'll probably be more split unless everyone just decides to try to take, Andrews completely out of the game, who we all know is Lamar's number 1 target. Like, he's the guy you game plan against and make other people beat you.
I think what everybody needs to do is sit tight, sit pat with your tight ends and relax. You drafted them for a reason in the position that you got them. Nobody performed well this weekend. I did want to give a shout out to here we go. Now I lost
Do it when we could do game
Pitts.
balls. Let's just
No,
finish our tight end waivers. We're literally going to give out game balls.
Right.
That's where you can give
I don't
your
wanna give
credit.
him a
Let's
game
stick
ball.
to the.
I don't want to give him a game ball.
No, I know, but that's where you can give your honorable mention.
All right.
Yeah, this is for strictly waivers because I want this to just be a whole section. We'll get there, but
We'll kill him. That's it. I mean, there's nobody else after Isaiah Likely. Literally not much going on over there. I mean, you could go to New Orleans, guys, and what do? They have two guys, Foster Moreau and Jawan Johnson, both scoring a touchdown over there. Good luck on figuring out who's going to get the next one. Next time, even our guy gets in there as well. So, yeah, nobody else, right? I mean,
yeah, the only one I have kind of mentioned is Kobe Parkinson. He did see 5 targets, had 4 catches for 47 yards. There in Los Angeles for the Rams, obviously with Puka going down, could open up some opportunity for Parkinson. You know, Sean McVay does, use his the guys he does have available, and we'll try to put him in position. And I think, potentially Parkinson could see an uptick in usage or targets with Puka being down. So he would be the only other person that I would kind of even somewhat, kind of think of. But yeah, everybody else, your Hoopers, Gesicki even scored a touchdown. I mean, come on. But yeah, that's the tough part, though, is, someone else maybe might be Dawson Knox. I mean, he only had 1 catch, 23 yards on 2 targets, but just with no real wide receiver emerging there, maybe he's an option. But yeah, for the most part, everyone else, I mean, Theo Johnson got 4 targets. It's just nobody else's offense is really running through the tight end position. So stick with the guys you have. Otherwise, just kind of grab a guy who's active going up against a bad defense and just hope he scores a touchdown. That's what we're all doing for tight ends.
Right now, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So that'll wrap up our top waiver ads for the week. Let's get into some quick week 1 top performers and game balls. And then once we do that, we'll get to our Q&A section. So if you guys have questions or comments, leave them there in the chat. We will be getting to them shortly. If you do want us to get your question right away, you can drop us a super chat and we'll get to it. But at this point of the show, you might as well just hang around because we'll get to it for free here shortly. So let's get into it, man. Let's go to the quarterbacks here. Let's see. Quarterbacks, top performers of the week. You had, like we talked about, Baker Mayfield as your QB1 in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, scoring 37.66 points per game, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns. Your QB2 was Josh Allen because he did have the 2 passing touchdowns as well as the 2 rushing touchdowns. 39 yards on the ground, 232 yards in the air. He scored, looks like, 32.68 points is what I have in his 35.68 points in a 6-point per passing touchdown league. Then you had Lamar Jackson come in here as your QB3 with 30.62 points, 273 yards and a touchdown. He did have 16 carries for 122 yards on the ground. No rushing touchdown, but 26 for 41 on his passing. Over, what is that, almost damn near 400 total yards. Lamar is that offense over there. Then you have your QB4, who probably could have been the QB1 overall this week, with 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown had he hit A.D. Mitchell with those 2. But with that said, he finished with 212 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 6 carries for another 56 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. So that put him at 30.08 points. So nice to see that we've had, 3 quarterbacks hit that 30-point mark. And then we had Jaden Daniels finish as your QB5, the rookie QB, who we said will, because of his rushing, could get you in that QB1 overall territory. He finished as a top 5 QB here this week in his very first start, 29.66 fantasy points, 184 yards passing, no touchdowns, no interceptions. But as expected, did his damage on the ground, 16 carries for 88 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. So that rounds out your top 5. Who you giving your game ball out to? Again, it doesn't have to be one of these top 5, or it could be. What do you think?
I like Baker, man. I like
Shake and bake.
Because, he's held it up over there in Tampa Bay. He's shown he could be the man. He's like, as you mentioned, you paid him. They said this is your team, and he's balling out, dude. He making Mike Evans look, he's always looked good. He plays well without. He's like quarterback proof. For now, he has decent quarterback again. He can go back to the days when he had Brady again, played with them and things like that. He's going to put up really good numbers. I think that at this point, I'm almost ready to pick him up and just keep him as a backup for my bye week or something. At this point, you know what I mean. But I mean, it's definitely the guy to pick up for the Jordan Love owner that had him go down. Going to be the number one waiver wire guy to go for. So
there you go. I'm going to give it to the rookie, man. Jaden Daniels coming in at QB5. Didn't even throw for 200 yards. Didn't even rush for 100 yards. But literally, again, we say it all the time. These rushing quarterbacks, they break fantasy, man. The way the scoring and everything's set up for these rushing quarterbacks, they don't have to do anything in the air. That rushing damage is nasty. So 184 yards, again, like I mentioned, 2 touchdowns on the ground. 88 yards on the ground is good enough for almost 30 points from your quarterback position. For a guy you probably drafted as a QB2 on your team, most people did. Hopefully he was in your lineups this week and not somebody else. So unless it was one of these other 4, Richardson, Lamar, Josh, or Baker. If not, it was a bad start. So there you go. Congratulations, Jaden Daniels. Hopefully the first of many. So let's move on to the running back position here. I'll try to keep it quick. We're close to an hour here. Who do you got for your running backs? Or let's go through the top 5.
Guys,
so
top 5
my bad.
What's the number 1 is Saquon Barkley there in Philadelphia.
You're going half PPR, right? These are all half PPR.
Yeah, this is half PPR.
Okay, cool.
That's what I have. I don't know.
Just want to make sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm fat PPR right here. 24 attempts, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 targets, 2 receptions, 23 yards, and a touchdown there. Ends up with 3 touchdowns on the day. What was the day of the Giants over there that they lost this guy? But they were saying
Saquon scored more touchdowns than the entire Giants team did.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's sad. It's sad days. But hopefully more to come. Because they usually say that they have a regression when the running back goes to a new team over there. But I think he's in a really good spot. I didn't see him get snaked by that tush push, which they did continue to do this year.
Not as effectively though, so we'll see what happens.
Not as much, but I mean now they have a weapon to do. You know what I mean? You could, they gave him a goal line shot, and he scored. So it was like you don't need to do the tush push anymore. So number 2 here is Joe Mixon here.
Say it ain't Joe.
It is. Yes, it ain't, but it is. Joe Money Mixon is 159 yards.
30, say it again. Average. 30 carries.
30 carries, man.
Damn,
that's a lot of touches. 159 yards, 1 TD, 3 catches, 3 for 19 yards. So at least even a couple targets in the air. 25.3 fantasy points on the day. That's a nice day. Then we got Jordan Mason coming in here at number 3. 28 to 147, 5.2 yard average, 1 touchdown, 1 reception for 5 yards. So obviously, he was highlighted on the ground today, filling in for CMC and did a stellar job. 21.7 fantasy points on him. Then we got number 4, J.K. Dobbins that we were talking about. Another number 1 waiver wire ad here as 10 attempts, 135 yards, 1 TD. And 3 receptions for 4 yards. So at least a couple looks in the air as well for those half-point PPRs going at 21.4, just below Jordan Mason. And then rounding up the top 5 is Ramondre Stevenson, 25 attempts for 120 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 catches for 6 yards, and 1 fumble lost. 1 fumble that not lost, but 20.1 fantasy points. And I think honorable mention we'll give to Devon Achane there and Evan Kamara because they both got 19.5 there coming in. Won't give the stats on those guys because they're right up there close. But yeah, Saquon Barkley, I think, being the winner of the bunch, but as well as Jordan Mason and J.K. Dobbins here, the waiver wire guys for the week too.
There you go. So who you giving your game ball to?
I hate to say it, but I mean, the Saquon dude just came out on fire.
Philly guy, huh?
Didn't he come out on fire?
It's like that.
I was looking at J.K. Dobbins. I put him up there, but
Last minute
just thought about
switch. I like
those
it.
3 touchdowns. They were solid, man. That dude looked good. He felt like you could see like he belonged in that team. The whole offense is running right with him. It just didn't look quirky. It just looked right. I think he's going to be a good fit for them, and they're going to see a lot of that going on this year in that offense. So, I wish I had him, honestly.
Over or under 4.5 games with multiple touchdowns for Saquon Barkley.
Over 4.5, I'd say. Yeah.
You think he'll have more
for the
than
season? Yeah.
You think he'll have more than 4 than double-digit touchdowns?
Yeah.
I'd have to do some more research.
Season. It's a 17-game season. There's plenty of.
That's a lot, man.
He's already got one. He only needs 3 more.
So all right, so 5 times that's 10. So you think he might have like LT type TD numbers then? If you're saying that's what it's like. All right.
They already see the
He's already had 3.
Seem to stop at the goal line or something happens, and that's why they have this whole tush push situation in the first place. So now he's just going to solve that problem for them.
All right, there we go. There it is. All right, man. So before I was going to give this thing
to get the guy anyways, and if you did try to draft for him, you're going to have to pay dearly right now to trade for him.
You're not trading for him. So, he's untradeable at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, but would I give him that number?
He gets hurt by him.
Yeah.
He's hurt for like 2 or 3 weeks. Go by him. All right. So for me, Jordan Mason is probably who I would do, obviously filling in for Christian McCaffrey, but I just have to give my boy a shout out for doing that. Not my actual game ball. I'll actually give my game ball man to Joe Money Mixon. I counted this dude out. He was on my do not draft list. I didn't want to touch him. I just thought I was going to be an air raid with CJ Stroud. I thought the run game was going to be just an afterthought.
Secondary.
But obviously 30 carries. It was the most of any team of anyone, even the Niners at 28 carries for Mason. So Joe Money Mixon, man, I stand corrected. I'll tell you here when I'm wrong, and I was definitely wrong on Mixon. So your RB2 overall, man, 25 points, just killing it, man. 30 carries, 159 yards and a touchdown, 3 for 3 for 19 on the year, but he is the workhorse back. He should have been drafted in the 2nd round if we were going to do it all over again. So honorable mention to J.K. Dobbins, though, man. But he did only have 10 carries, 135 yards, 13.5 rushing average is just insane. Like, that's not sustainable, but it is interesting and intriguing. So we'll leave it with that. But I'll
worth the waiver wire ad, though.
Yeah, I'll get Joe Money Mixon his love here week 1 because he deserves it, man.
Nice.
All right. So let's move on. So we got wide receivers here. Again, we're talking just half PPR here when we go over these fantasy points. You had your wide receiver 1 this week on Friday night, Mr. Jaden Reed. We all saw it happen. 4 catches,
talk about it,
6 targets.
Bench and 2 teams. I'm sorry, man. I had to
no, that's all good. I feel your pain. That's why I love him in best ball, my guy. I had him and Worthy on one of my best ball teams, so that was a nice best ball day. So Jaden Reed, man, 4 catches on 6 targets, 138 yards and a touchdown. He does get the rushing touchdown as well for 33 yards. So very nice game. I mean, what can you say? 31.1 half PPR points, a little more in full PPR. So you'll take it. Your wide receiver 2 overall this week, Cooper Kupp. Again, Puka going down. He saw 21 targets, 14 catches, 110 yards and a touchdown. Not very efficient, but again, the volume is king. Did get the 1 touchdown there. They even ran him twice for 10 yards. So again, they put the ball in their playmakers' hands. So Cooper Kupp, your wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 3 came from a game tonight. Mr. Alan Lazard. Yeah, the Lazard King, your 18th round pick in your best ball. That's looking nice when your 18th round pick is the number 3 at his position overall. You'll take it. That's how you win 1.5 million. Frank, so good luck. I'm getting excited. I want to go check it as soon as we're done because I think I was in that draft with you, so I want to go see.
Yeah, you were.
So 6 catches on 9 targets. We talked about it earlier. 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, two big plays. One from Tyrod, one from Aaron Rodgers on the. It wasn't a busted play, but just that false start or encroachment, free play.
It's like a signature play.
Hit him
Aaron
down the seam.
Rodgers
Yeah, it's just
play,
the
right?
Aaron Rodgers play. Yeah, at this
Gets the
point.
guy that's running off the field still. Go hike it.
Yeah. Exactly. So he pulled this thing and got that done. Your wide receiver 4 this week almost didn't play, almost landed himself in jail before the game. We had an interesting, colorful conversation about that in our group chat. We'll keep that to the privacy there. But yeah, still pretty crazy. We're not here to get in all the politics of things. But glad that Tyreek Hill was able to play. Was doing real good until he caught that 80-yard touchdown. I was playing against him in one league, thought I had everything all good to go. Right at the end, of course, that 80-yard touchdown. Before that, they actually kind of held him in check for a while. Jacksonville did. 7 catches on 12 targets for only 130 yards. And I say only 130 because 80 of it came on one play. So before that, they kind of just held him to like 6 catches for 50 yards, which for Tyreek, that's not that bad. You'll take that every day of the week. So, 22.5 fantasy points, your wide receiver 4. And then my guy, man, made a splash this week. I'm so happy for this guy. I was almost kind of riding him out just because of how his career kind of started. But, his rookie season, man, I was all over him. Jameson Williams, man, J-Will here gets 5 catches on 9 targets, which is the 9 targets is the thing that I like to see.
Yeah.
Obviously with Laporta and Amon-Ra, Gibbs and Montgomery, like they were using him in different routes. He wasn't just running go balls. So that's what I like to see, him being an integral part. Remember, Amon-Ra is a slot guy. He's not an alpha wide receiver 1. Jameson Williams drafted as the number 1 pick, first round. I think it was like a top 7 or 8 pick that they spent on him that year, 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Like this dude is a potential alpha, man. This guy was he's a Heisman Trophy winner. Like this dude is the shit. Like before he blew out his ACL, man, he was the dude. And obviously they drafted him, and now we see why. Maybe it finally coming, all together here in his 3rd year. 121 yards, touchdown, the 52-yard bomb, which was nice, of course. They also used him on 1 carry for 13-yard, end around. And we just, could potentially see a lot coming from this guy in the future. Obviously, in a high-powered offense attached to a nice quarterback, he could emerge as the alpha wide receiver 1. So beware, you Amon-Ra St. Brown drafters. This guy named J-Mo might be a little thorn in your side.
Spoiler, yeah, might be hurt.
Thorn in your side here this year. So we'll see.
I'm so pissed at myself. I let him go in our keeper
league. Your keeper league? I couldn't believe you did that.
I had him low. I had him so low this year and everything. I had him draft him last year, last pick. Would have been my 12th pick this year, moving up 1 spot.
Oh, J-Mo, you're talking about.
J-Mo, yeah. And I let him go. I thought I was trying something new and different just to try to clean up. But I had planned on him, and I didn't. I should have just kept him one more time. And after seeing him just even 1 game, maybe I'm overreacting, but I'm kicking myself.
Oh, you're overreacting. Don't worry. There's always the Sammy Watkins factor in week 1. Right. That's the game ball we should give out, is the Sammy Watkins ball. So we'll see how that goes. That might be an end of the year award. But yeah, so those are our top 5 wide receivers. Obviously, I'm just going to give my game ball here for the sake of time to J-Mo. Who are you going to give your game ball to?
Shoot, Alan Lazard, man, the guy we were talking.
Let's go!
Out of nowhere,
might win you 1.5 million. Give that boy his game ball.
2 over there in the Jets. I would go after this guy if you need somebody just like you're saying, deep waiver wire stash. If you got the room, put him on there. He might be somebody. He might get you a wide receiver 3 numbers here and there. You know what I mean? It's something.
Let's do it.
All
right.
But hey, for 2 touchdowns, that's not bad, man.
There it is. All right, so let's move on here to tight ends as we power through this here, so we can get to some Q&A before we go. That is going to be our next section. So if you guys are watching, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in the chat. You can always throw us a super chat to get your question read first, or we're just going to scroll back up to the top and kind of go in order. So Frank, I'll tell you too. Why don't you go ahead while we're kind of going through this and I'm reading this off, kind of scroll up, get the questions queued up, get them ready. We'll kind of alternate. You do one and then I'll get the next one, and it'll kind of work out that way so we can kind of flow through those questions. So our tight end 1 overall, we talked about him earlier as a waiver wire ad. Isaiah Likely, 12 targets, 9 catches for 111 yards and a touchdown, almost 10 catches for 2 touchdowns there. He was a Kevin Durant toenail on the line from that. So he finished 21.6 points there from the tight end spot. So not a bad start to the year. Foster Moreau, the tight end 2 in New Orleans, going against Carolina, goes 4 for 4 for 43 and a touchdown. Your tight end 2 this week only scored 12.3 points. So again, you weren't missing
That's
anything
sad,
crazy at the
right?
tight end position. So there you go. We had our tight end 3. At least this guy, of all the tight ends that were drafted early, at least this guy's in the top 5. Your honorable mention that you wanted to talk about in the other segment, Mr. Kyle Pitts. Only 3 catches on 3 targets for 26 yards, but one of those catches happened to be past the goal line, which gave him those 6 points to put him at 10.1 half PPR points for the day.
And then he had injury designation just before the game, and all kinds.
It was a hamstring that was kind of lingering from a while. He was technically on the report, but he was practicing full Friday and was good to go on Sunday.
This guy.
But yeah, so Kyle Pitts, man, Kyle Pitts showing. So there you go. Number 4, Jawan Johnson, the second New Orleans tight end here in the top 5. 2 catches on 3 targets for 26 yards and a touchdown. Again, you just want the guys that are going to score you a touchdown. And that'll basically get you in the top 5, 9.6 points from your tight end 4. And then we had the tight end 5, Brock Bowers from the Los Angeles Raiders, the rookie, 6 catches on 8 targets, which I was glad to see him involved that much. Maybe I stand a little bit corrected there. In that offense, it didn't just seem hyper-focused to Devontae Adams. But again, it was just the Chargers. 58 yards, no touchdown for Brock Bowers, but because of those 6 catches, since he almost doubled everybody's like targets and catches for the most part, besides like likely, that puts him at 8.8 points as your tight end 5. So I don't know if I stand all the way corrected over 8.8.
You'd like seeing the targets. You'd like seeing,
it's the targets, right? That's what we're looking at. So
the targets is really what you want to look at compared to all the other tight ends. It's just a bad tight end week, anyways. In general, let's see him. Let's see if he's there week in and week out. Then you can kind of feel bad about it. But I think
exactly. So we'll see. We'll see what happens here. The time we thought tight end was at its deepest, maybe it is at its deepest with these 5 guys making the top 5. Maybe it is deep now, if that's the case. But yeah, so just later great tight end, man. I guess is still the take on this one because man, tight ends it's getting rough. So we shall see. So game ball. Who are you giving your game ball to?
On these tight ends, man.
I mean, to me, likely is the only one that's likely worth giving it to it. So I can't give it to somebody else.
11 yards. I mean, what do we like? Kyle Pitts because he got a touchdown. Like, he's supposed to do something. Like, there, stuff's to fire over there, anyways. Like,
let's do it. Let's end the segment. Let's end it there. Let's end it there.
Yeah,
let's end it there. So good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so let's get into the live Q&A, man. Again, we appreciate you guys for hanging out with us here. Like we said, we'll try to get to as many Q&A that we can here on these shows moving forward. If you do have immediate questions that you want an answer to live, just drop us a super chat. If not, just drop them in the chat anytime during the show. And when we get to the live Q&A section, we'll go ahead and go through them. So again, just shout out to all the folks that are dropping the chats in there. FF Season, Tresner, Neanderthal Ball, Drunk Squidward. What's up, man? A couple new names, Thomas and Reese. Hopefully you're still with us here. Maximus, hopefully you're still here as well. I got a sighting of the Roll in here. What's up, Roll? We got Smeed in here. Who else? The Smitty. What's up, Smitty? And we'll get to your question here in a second too. I like that one. You got the first question.
Thomas was up here first. Posted by back. Need some QB ads for my super flex for love. Who to pick up off waivers between Fields, Darnold, Levis, and Minshew. So he's got slim pickings over there. Honestly, I would take maybe some Darnold and then Fields.
Darnold and Fields. I don't know about Darnold. He's playing the Niners next. Tough defense to go against.
I didn't even look at the schedule next.
I mean, this is what we got to do when we're giving out advice here, Frankie. We got to.
I didn't have the schedule up, but I did like Darnold's numbers this week. That's why I was thinking.
Yep, there you go. So for me too, of these guys, I mean, Darnold would have been the first pick just given the offense and the opportunity and has the best receiver to throw to out of all these guys. Next, I'm looking at Gardner Minshew, but he's going up against Baltimore, so that's a tough defense there. I mean, Mahomes only put up like 18 points against that Baltimore defense, and he played pretty good. So that's just a tough ass there. But if you're talking, kind of long term, he does get Carolina week 3, Cleveland, which their defense is good. You got to deal with Myles Garrett over there. But if you can get past that, I mean, their secondary is pretty good too. Newsome and some of those other guys, Ward. Yeah, so that might be a little tough. And then you get Denver week 5. So it's kind of like tough game, easy game, tough game, easy game with Minshew, and then gets Pittsburgh. That's going to be tough as well. So I don't know about that. Levis is, pretty rough. He didn't look great this week. And then Fields might honestly be your best shot just because of the potential rushing upside. If Wilson doesn't come back, he gets Denver next week, which he should be able to run all over if that's the case. So honestly, I'd probably go Fields, hoping that, Wilson doesn't, come back. And if if Wilson does come back, maybe Fields is available, maybe Wilson's available for you to switch. So you might want to grab, maybe both of those guys if you can, or just, kind of swap it out later, being, and it's super flex. Yeah, man. So that's tough. So you might just have to throw one of those guys in there and see what happens. If you had maybe Darnold against the Niners, just because you have Jefferson kind of torches the Niners.
Yeah.
And just Kevin O'Connell, I believe in his offense. He's going to throw it. They're going to be behind most likely. So you could find some garbage, points in there. Yeah. So if you had to rank these for Frank, how would you rank them?
Well, now after, I don't know. I still like Darnold better, man.
I think I'm going to go Darnold, Minshew.
And then Fields.
Actually, I'm going to go Darnold, Fields. Well, if Fields is playing, I'm going to go Fields just because the matchup's the easiest and his rushing upside.
Yeah.
If Fields isn't playing, like if Wilson comes back and Fields isn't the starter, then I'd go Darnold, Minshew, and Levis. Just not a big Levis fan, man.
No.
Just can't get behind it. I mean, unless he's playing Washington, who are they playing? Because Chicago has a good defense.
New York Jets. So no.
Oh, they're playing the Jets.
Purdy
didn't even have that great of a game.
Tough matchups coming up.
Yeah, it was all tough week 2 matchups. Yeah, with these guys. No wonder why they're on the wire. But I'm surprised even in a super flex. I wonder if it's a 10-team super flex because I'm surprised even these guys are available in a super flex.
Yeah, you should have drafted another guy though. You know what I mean? Like,
nah, I don't know.
I'm a super flex guy. I don't care.
Bad luck of the draw, man. Just be happy. Just be happy. Love's not out.
Have a guy for the bye weeks, even just for the bye week guys.
Yeah, your team can change so much by the time the bye weeks happen. It don't even matter. Look at him now with Love gone week 1. So I agree with you, man.
You need to back it.
Ride or die.
All right, Reese.
Sometimes you die.
All
right, let's go, Reese. Go ahead, read it off, Frank.
Rate my team: Anthony Richardson, Josh Jacobs, Ramondre Stevenson, Jerome Ford, J.K. Dobbins, A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Jalen Reed, Kyle Pitts, Devontae Adams, Javonte Williams, and T.J. Hawkinson rounding it out here. This is a 10-team league. Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it seems like it almost has.
You got really, I like him. Adams. Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure if I could trust anybody over there in Vegas for right now. Still, the defense looks not solid though. I like Anthony Richardson a lot. Josh Jacobs actually looked pretty good over there in Green Bay. Ramondre Stevenson did his thing, but I'm not sure how long he's going to be able to hold out. Jerome Ford did his thing. J.K. Dobbins. We were just talking about him. What do you think?
I like this team except for Javonte Williams, man. It's the only thing I don't like. I'm just trying to figure out how he got all these guys on his team. Maybe he's on trades. Maybe it's a dynasty team. I don't know. But to get, Jamar Chase, he must have just fallen completely in this draft. To be able to get A.J. Brown and Jamar Chase. Usually those guys are going top 8. So I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. Even in a 10 team. I can't get that in a 10 team.
Right.
And it's not super flex. Usually in a super flex, you can get A.J. Brown and Jamar Chase. Maybe he made a trade already. But yeah, Reese, you're stacking on this team. This team's an A-. You got A-Rich. I love Jerome Ford, Josh Jacobs, Stevenson, Dobbins, obviously just balled out. Jalen Reed, you had the number 1, receiver there. Top 3 tight end here in Kyle Pitts, apparently, after week 1. The only one I don't agree with here is Javonte Williams. And if I had that wide receiving core, I'm trying to trade Devontae Adams if I can. Just not a fan of this offense, but
wait till he has a good week and move on him.
Yeah, other than that, pretty solid team. I'll give it if I had to rank it out of 100, I'd give it like a 92.
I'm at 89.
Pretty close. We're splitting hairs. Good team. Hopefully hit that subscribe button for us here, Reese. We appreciate it. If you guys are watching, hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, hit that like button. It helps us out just as much. to get out to new folks. So there we go.
Turn on those notifications.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we got Maximus out here, 12 team, half PPR. And shout out to Maximus here for giving us the league settings, how many people scoring, how many passing touchdowns if you're going to involve a quarterback. We need to know if it's 6-point or 4-point. So appreciate you guys when you give us the full info before asking your question. Yeah, so that's good stuff. So 12 team, half PPR. Would you consider dropping any Michael Wilson, Dowdle, or Palmer for the top ads this week? So Wilson, Dowdle, or Palmer?
A high drop in Yahoo. Wilson, I would go ahead with. Dowdle, I would still hold on to. They're still.
Dowdle, I'm holding as well too. Palmer, I still want to hold. I mean, he got ejected. Yeah. That was interesting, getting ejected in that game. But he was still the clear number one. Just it's going to be tough there. Michael Wilson, of all the three, he'd be the one that I would want to drop. And if I was going to drop him for someone, it'd probably be one of these running backs. I don't think there's another wide receiver I would drop him for. I'm not dropping him for like Robinson or even Lazard or Alec Pierce or Brandon Cooks or anyone or Dortch, his counterpart there. I'm not dropping him, any of those guys for that. But I would take a chance on some of these running backs. Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill. Me not per se Alexander Madison. He's a name you're going to hear a lot. I'm just not for the Alexander Madison because I was off on Zamir White, and I told you so to all the Zamir White people. Like he's,
don't get it twisted.
I'm just telling you, he's just not good. He's he's being beat out by Alexander Madison, who's the Alexander Madison of Alexander Madisons. So I don't know what we were thinking there, but
right.
Tank Bigsby, Zach Charbonnet, Bucky Irving. I would drop Wilson for all those guys except for Madison, just to stash on your bench. So absolutely, that's who I would do. But I'd roll with Dowdle and I'd keep Palmer as well.
One more week, check it out.
Yeah.
He'll be happy next week.
You agree with that, or?
Oh yeah, I agree completely because that's. Right. I'm not.
Would you drop Wilson for likely if you needed a tight end, or?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would drop Wilson for half the guys that we mentioned.
Would you drop Wilson for likely over any of these running backs? Like, do you have likely ahead of any of these running backs, or are you taking a shot on the running back?
The one thing that I saw this week, and we were I forgot what show was talking about. It's less scoring happened, and less scoring happened in the air. It's a lot more running happening as far as.
It's usually weird. Usually in the beginning of the year, it's a lot of air raid before the weather gets bad.
It's not it's easy to get those air touchdowns as it has been, and it's super thick right now in wide receiver and everything else. That's why I would go for the running back because they'll still be slim to none eventually again, and they're already hard to get as it is. There's not enough. Might as well shoot guys that are have an upside this currently.
For sure. Shout out to the roll. Appreciate him always coming out saying what's up. He's just flexing on us saying he picked up Jordan Mason to start with CMC out, and it paid off. So there you go. Some people say don't handcuff your own guys. Other people say do. In this situation, it turned out very well. I mean, if your guy's coming into week one with a potential injury, then there you go.
He does have a good question. Would y'all trade T-Law and Neighbors for Baker and Marv in a Dynasty 2QB 4-point passing touchdown, full PPR, tight end plus league, tight end premium?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Trevor Lawrence and Malik Neighbors for Baker and Marv. I'd do it.
I would, only because, bro, I don't want anything to do with the Giants offense right now.
Like, Neighbors could be that guy. Go anywhere for a long time.
Bro, like Daniel Jones could not get the ball to Neighbors. Like he did a couple times. They had like 2 25-yard catches, and like that was about it.
Have one good game a year.
I don't even think he got one target in the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know, man. Like the talent, I'm all for the talent, and yeah, I mean, I think they'll figure it out over there in Arizona.
You gave about Daniel Jones throwing more.
Oh yeah, Daniel Jones. Yeah, Daniel Jones has thrown more pick sixes than he has actual touchdowns since signing his $160 million contract. So since the moment he signed that $160 million contract, he's thrown more touchdowns to other teams than he has for the own team that's paying him the $160 million. So, think about it.
With that being
said,
but
yet he's starting next week, according to Dable. That's Dable's fault.
Yeah. And with that being said, I'll move on Neighbors because of that situation. His quarterback's never going to get him the ball enough. And T-Law is not as good as Baker, so I'll just take Baker and Marv.
Yeah, I'll just chalk up the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing to a weird, funky week. Had he had that pass like Tyreek got, that 80-yard touchdown at the end, had Kyler connected with Marvin Harrison, that would be great. The thing I heard about Marvin Harrison too is I think his average depth of route run, like his average depth for route run, was like 12.1 yards, which was like the highest, like by almost a yard than anyone, like the average last year, which was like 11.6 or something around there. So I think they'll adjust that. They just need to work him into some screens and just kind of get the ball into his hands. That offense should roll around him. But yeah, so I take that chance.
Yeah, get out of here and go hit that smash accept button and live happily ever after.
Yeah, and T-Law, the drop-off from T-Law to Baker, quote-unquote, isn't that big of a deal in a 4-point because neither one of them are really rushing. Like, maybe Trevor's rushing, but we all know Baker will throw his body out there if need be. So there we go. The roll also said Dobbins is Timothy. So that's when you were talking about him for the running backs. Smeet Sauce says, what do you think about Gesicki?
Oh, I put him up when you were talking about Gesicki.
Yeah, so I kind of did mention it earlier. Did get the touchdown. We've never really seen Burrow really throw to tight ends over there. I mean, he didn't have Higgins. Nobody else was really doing anything. Chase is pouting because he's not getting paid. A little baby. And so Gesicki, take him or leave him. At this point, I mean, he scored a touchdown, so he was probably top 10 this week. I'm pretty sure. So
check it out.
Or was he?
No.
Oh, that's bad. He was 22, even though he did score a touchdown.
Even though he did score. So moving on from that guy.
Oh no, his touchdown got called back. That's why. The touchdown got called back. I remember now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's why he's 22. The touchdown didn't count. Anyway, all right. So let's move on. What else we got here?
Yeah, we just don't expect high numbers from Gesicki anyways, regardless.
Yeah. So the Smitty says, or one of us is doing it. Cheer me up about London. Kirk Cousins coming off injury. It's his first game back. Hasn't had any preseason. Basically, it's his preseason now. Getting live game reps when he's not wearing that red contact jersey anymore like he is in practice. When people are headhunting, you get a little PTSD going on. Could have been what happened with him. I think there's more to come with London. I think there is more to come just with this offense in general. So I'm not bailing on him yet. I mean, we've seen that Kirk Cousins can produce a wide receiver 1 overall, like Justin Jefferson. So we'll absolutely find out if London is somewhere near the Justin Jefferson level to be able to get open on these routes, because we know if he is open and the scheme is to get London the ball, we know Kirk Cousins does or used to at least have the ability to put him on him. So let's just see, Kirk Cousins hopefully get back to a little more healthy and, get a better flow. Again, it is his first time. He's just learned the offense, all new pieces, new weapons. So, yeah, give him a little bit of time. I'm not freaking out yet.
All right. He's
Same with you?
My team even, yeah.
There we go.
I think I think with all the guys, this I'll say that about everybody. We had a lot of top wide receivers didn't do well this week. I mean, half the guys really that we drafted in first and second rounds, and all the tight ends. It was just an off week. I mean, we got to bust off the.
It's just 1 week. That's how I'm going to put it. It's just small sample size.
You got to wait till about 4 weeks in. About 4 weeks in is when you got enough sample size and you can start making some.
Now we panic.
Yes, then that's when the panic starts in, and you full on hit it like a big red shiny button. Smash.
Exactly. So this is 12 team Superflex. He says, rate my team: Stafford, Fields, Etienne, Zamir White, Ramondre, Chase, Brown, Jordan Mason, Mike Evans, Tank Dell, Drake London, Sam Laporta, Goddard. Any moves you would make? So Smitty, we usually kind of go down and break teams down like this more on our Wednesday show when we do roster management. So I'd invite you back to that show. But as far as like just rating your team, in Superflex, it worries me that your QB2 is Fields because you got kind of lucky here this week. I don't see another quarterback there. So that worries me a lot. And it's not like you're completely, stacked at other positions to kind of just throw somebody else kind of in your Superflex at the moment. I mean, maybe, but yeah, I mean, so that worries me just a little bit there. Hopefully you can find a quarterback there on the waiver wire. But any moves that I would make is I'd be looking to find another quarterback there somehow. If I can trade, Zamir White, maybe somebody else wanted them, in your league, hopefully, guys kind of like that. Or maybe you have to move off of someone like Sam Laporta to maybe like White and Laporta, package that up to get a QB, and whoever tight end they have that's not as good as Laporta, but maybe better than Goddard. Something like that. But I'd definitely be keeping my eyes and ears out for an opportunity to trade for a quarterback. And you're probably not going to be too worried about it or, have too much say in it. Like maybe you can get someone like Sam Darnold or someone like that. Or maybe go try to buy Jordan Love while he's hurt. And maybe you'll at least, have someone when he comes back in a couple weeks. Big time.
Too long.
Yeah, big time.
You don't want to do that on Superflex.
I don't mind not taking a QB3, but you got to take a QB2 before Justin Fields. So, so that's just my feedback on that. Again, we don't mean it like in a bad way, just telling you kind of how we feel on the build. And if you are new to us here, all off season, man, we do mock drafts and stuff like that. To help you with these things, so you don't kind of get yourself in situations like this, to where you kind of get froze out at your QB2. But I do understand it. Like sometimes, like you're not going to take a position player versus the quarterback who's on the clock sometimes, but sometimes you need to just grab that guy because it's only going to get worse. So all off season, we have our Friday night mocks that we discuss all that. So hopefully you join us for that next year. And we'll get you right. So you're not having to make a move like this week 1, my guy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah.
Dominic coming in here. Zanoni.
What's up, Dominic?
This is a new name here too as well.
Yeah, hit that subscribe button for us, man.
What's up, man? I have Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Garrett Wilson in the 2 wide receiver spot and 1 flex spot with Kupp and Rice on the bench. Should I put Kupp in for Wilson next week?
Probably for Jamar Chase, man. Yeah, okay, so we're thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Like depending on how things go with Chase, man, and until we see what's going on with Burrow and just this offense, like I can't believe I'm about to say, Jamar Chase, but I mean, Kupp with no Puka, like he has to be in my lineup. Mike Evans is literally a walking like 80 and a touchdown or 2, so like I have to get him in my lineup.
Yep.
And right now with Rice coming off 9 targets, the way he was used, 103 yards and didn't even score a touchdown attached to Mahomes, like he has to be in the lineup. So for me, I think I am sitting Wilson and Chase, but that's just crazy to say. It's like your top 2. I mean, you just drafted a really great team, Dominic, to be in a situation where Chase and Garrett Wilson are there, maybe to kind of avoid this situation in the future. Maybe you sell high on Kupp right now, coming off his 21 targets. Puka may come back, maybe he doesn't, but I mean, you got a month without him there. But if you can, trade up and get maybe like a Jonathan Taylor for Kupp, someone who didn't go crazy this week, right? Jonathan Taylor. I mean, I don't think you'll get like Bijan, but someone like that. But again, those guys who took a Bijan or a Breece Hall or someone like that in the top is probably hurting at wide receiver. So maybe go after maybe Breece, maybe put Garrett Wilson and, somebody else in there and try to upgrade to Breece Hall. Yeah. Just a thought.
But Jamar Chase, we say that because he's still not going to be ready. He hasn't practiced, hasn't played, and you've seen the rest that he had. And I don't think he's going to go out there and just crush it like he has in the past till he gets paid. He's not a happy dude right now. So.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. That's a tough situation to call. Yeah. I don't think I can get away from Chase. I can have him out of my lineup for a week, as basically you did this week. I mean, he's still, 6 for 62? Most of it came in the second half. I mean, we'll see. Not that I'm keeping track or anything. I mean, I have so many shares in Chase, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you, Dominic. But yeah, so come with us when we start getting into start sit on Fridays, and we'll be able to help you out a little more there. So let's get on to Josh here. He says, in PPR, would you trade Achane and Reed for Cooper Kupp? Nah, I'm keeping Achane and Reed for sure.
Yeah.
Even with the Jordan Love injury, he's not out for the year, maybe 3 weeks, maybe only 2 with an MCL sprain. Again, he's not a running back or wide receiver, need to make these crazy cuts. He's not a rushing quarterback as much as people want to think he is. Anyway, he's a pocket passer, so if he could put a brace on that thing and be back out there in 2 weeks, after they see 2 weeks of Malik Willis, he'll be out there in 2 weeks. I think he'll miss just 2 games and he'll be there in the 3rd game because they're not going to want to see any of that. And of course, all my shares of Watson, Reed, and Dobbs want him back as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's got to hold down for a little bit.
Hold down the fort for sure.
What up, Brian?
We got Y Prime in here saying, "What up, guys?" So there we go. and appreciate you coming out. Josh says just Achan. He has Bijan as an anchor. Nah, man.
No. Why would you move off of him?
Like, I think the combination of Achan and Reed over the long term. I mean, obviously, once Love gets back, Puka's going to come back. He's going to eat into those. Like, maybe in the next 3 weeks, one of them, kind of out produces, but you're going to be kicking yourself the moment. Like, Achan was literally a top 6 running back this week, and he had 10 carries, bro. 10 carries. Dude had 7 catches in a full PPR league. Like, Achan's ceiling is like no other one's ceiling. Like, he's on that CMC potential level. Like, he can literally win you a week by himself. And I don't even think he had a great week. He's a little banged up at the moment too. It's tough, man, but yeah, I don't think so. Man. I think I'd stick with just dominate people with Achan and Bijan, man, and just ride that thing. Ride that thing out. Now, maybe if it was someone else besides Cup, like a more like now. All right, so here's a better one. Would you go to the Jamar Chase owner for Achan and Reed and go get Jamar Chase?
Right.
Now that's or Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? Ooh, one of these guys that came off. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like that's where I would aim. I'm not aiming for Cooper Kupp. Like he's only going to get 21 targets because Puka's not there for 4 weeks. Long term, like I'm thinking playoffs, right? Like in the long term, like okay, if you want to upgrade and take that chance on Chase being much better later in the year once they get their shit together, then maybe I pull the trigger for Achan and Reed, knowing you have Bijan still. And I hope just based on your build, I want to know who your RB2s or your RB3 and 4 are. Because if you have someone like, oh man, I mean, if you have like J.K. Dobbins, right? Or you have Brian Robinson Jr., or you have, one of these guys, that's getting, okay, work. Maybe. Then Jerome Ford, if you have him, who we didn't mention this week, I don't know how, but he was a nice performer against a good defense too. Still put up 18 points. So that's who I'm going after, man. So it looks like that's all the questions we have here. Yeah. I had our quick little game, and let's just do this literally real quick, man. Just since it's kind of our first time, I don't need to, a lot of these things we've kind of talked about throughout the show. I just want your quick take on these guys. Are we going to panic or nah on these 5 kind of players / situations here in the NFL? So let's get into it here real quick.
Let's check it out.
I don't even think I have a banner for it, so we won't even put up a banner. But actually, let's just create. I mean, I could create it really quick. Panic or not, just so people know what's going on here.
Let's do it.
So panic or not. All right, Frank. Panic or not on the Atlanta offense and Kirk Cousins. Are we panicking or not on Atlanta and Kirk Cousins?
Oh man, I'm not panicking just yet.
All right, so we're not panicking.
He was coming off injury. It was a tough game for a lot of people, not just Kirk Cousins. Give him.
It's supposed to be rapid fire.
2 more weeks.
That's 2 more weeks. All right. So panic or nah on Marvin Harrison Jr.
No.
Okay. Again, easy. No panic there. All right. Panic or nah on Caleb Williams and the Chicago offense with Roma Dunze dealing with a knee sprain.
That guy scared me. He looked like
a rookie.
Okay, we're no longer like a rookie. Basically, he looked really good in the preseason when he was playing with those college guys that were on the field with him. But it's the big boys are playing now, and things changed real quick for him. So I think he's gonna have a rougher season than we planned, and I'm glad I didn't take too many shares of him because I was always worried about a rookie quarterback like that.
There you go.
You got to see.
Hey, Titans defense is good though. Remember they did get L'Jarius Sneed from Kansas City. Made some other changes on that defense. So both these defenses, Titans and Chicago defenses, man. If you have team defenses, go get these guys if they're out there because these guys are no joke, man. Chicago putting up 2 defensive touchdowns gave Chicago the win. I think first time a rookie quarterback has won. What was the stat? I think Caleb was the first rookie quarterback to win since who was it? Your boy, David Carr. Actually, your guy.
Right? It's crazy.
So that's insane. All right. So we'll move on. We didn't talk really about Chicago, so that's why let us go on that one a little bit. All right. So panic or not?
What's the stat line though? Look at that: 14 to 29 attempts, 93 yards, no tutties. I mean, that's and he still got the win. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, defense bailed him out. I hope he used that number 1 draft pick money to buy that whole defense Rolexes or something, because they bailed him out. All right, so moving on here. Panic or nah on the Bengals passing game?
I'm gonna say nah. Last year we seen same thing where like he was Burrow was hurt even, and things that happened. In this case, Higgins is hurt. Chase is trying to get his money. It's just a bad juju situation going over there. Give it a couple weeks. Let Chase get paid, or figure his stuff out. Higgins will come back. It'll be all straightened out. Give it a week or two as well.
Week or two, we'll take it. All right. So panic, and you guys can chime in the chat too. Panic or not on these. We'll get interactive in here for you guys. You guys agree or disagree? And we're almost done now, so maybe next Monday. It's all week 1 for all of us. See. Yeah. So panic or not? I'm not panicking on our show, right? So I think we're gonna come back. We'll be fine week 2. Right. So panic or not on the Get Right Monday show. We panicking or not? No, Deshaun Watson, man, in the Browns offense. Obviously injury to Njoku. Deshaun Watson looked washed as all kinds of get out. I wish they would have just kept Joe Flacco here. We probably would have had ourselves a quarterback controversy. They'd have been calling for Flacco already based on how he finished last year. Deshaun Watson in this Browns offense. Are we panicking or not?
I would. I would only be happy when Njoku back, and the guy puts up his share of numbers for the Browns. Cooper Kupp over there does his not Cooper Kupp. Amari Cooper does his job over there, a really good job as well.
Missed the touchdown. Oh, yeah. Right off his hands.
I just can't. I haven't been behind Brown for a long time, and it shows. I've been right for too many years now. 20 years of rolling.
D for Deshaun, right?
Yeah,
D for Deshaun.
He's not getting better, bro. He's not getting better. Remember that?
F for Deshaun now. Yeah, F for Deshaun now.
It was D for Deshaun last year. Now it's F for sure.
It was 2 years ago that it was D for Deshaun. So yeah, we're like F minus at this point.
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Oh yeah. Coming off that injury, dealing with that shoulder, just rusty. I mean, it's all. Who knows what's going on over there? Bring on Jameis Winston, baby. Let's go.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Let's go. Jameis Winston time. All right.
Some changes.
So that's it, man. That's all we have for the show. Of course, you guys know, man. The show is brought to you by our boys over at UnderdogFantasy.com. Sure, the best place to play fantasy sports, man. Make sure you guys go get into their best ball tournaments during the off season. It's one of the funnest things that we like to do here. Now that we're in season, we love doing the pick'em contest. Those are really fun. You just pick, higher, lower for player stats, like, total yards over, or touchdowns, higher, lower on touchdowns, things like that. So make sure you guys go check it out. Use that promo code GETRIGHT when you do. You'll get a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. So you can deposit $2,000 to get the max $1,000 in bonus cash, or let's get that panic or nah on there off. Or you can, deposit as little as $10 and get a $5 in bonus cash. So however you want to do it, go check it out. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code GETRIGHT. And of course, make sure you guys check out your boys over at TrophySmack.com to get your rings, your belts, your trophies, things like that. Your end of season prizes. Use that promo code GETRIGHT on checkout. All that information on Underdog and Trophy Smack is in the description. So I don't want to take up too much time there. So let's get out of here. I got a couple last questions going in here, and then we're going to call it a show. We have Josh saying Corum, Mason Moore is bench RB. So hey, at least you have Mason maybe for another week or two. Corum, looks like he's going to need something. So yeah, you don't have like a Jerome Ford or someone like that. So I'd hold on to HN right now for sure. Yeah, hopefully your wide receivers can get you through.
Because Mason's going to be maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and he's going to back onto the burner. Unless
he might have carved himself out a little role to keep CMC healthy. So we'll see what happens. Imagine CMC just as a third down back, right?
But he'll eat something, but not a lot. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know if you could trust him to get another touchdown and 100 yards.
Yeah, they both can eat, man. It seems he just gets us out to a big lead and just bring Jordan Mason in to salt it away.
That's exactly how I told him he could play it out. I said,
I've been saying that last year. Like, we had so many opportunities, but he was on that touchdown streak. Remember, like trying to say history and all that stuff. So, yeah. And my teams that had him last year, I didn't mind the RB1 overall finish. So we'll take it. All right. So Y-Pipe says, what do you guys think of my receiving group in Buffalo? Sounds like they're average, and so Allen will trust himself more. There is no number one Bills wide receiver this year. Obviously, we think it could be potentially Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
who I think you mentioned down here in the next chat. I have Keem Coleman, but not excited about his future upside. You got to give it time. It is just week one. I mean, he
Don't
has
panic.
stuff you can't teach, 6'4", 2 something, like you can't teach that. That's just God given, strength and ability and height. You attach him to Josh Allen, should be able to make it work. The thing I'm more worried about is the offense. I mean, they just want to run there. That was pretty evident. I just feel bad for the James Cook owners, including myself, because every time they get close to the goal line, man, it's Josh Allen running it in. He's going to call his own number. He don't want nobody else to score touchdowns but him. He wants all the limelight for whatever reason. Obviously, I'm sure he wants to get paid again when his contract comes up, and he wants to have all those touchdowns there to negotiate that.
Though.
But yeah, I mean, efficiency wise and total yardage wise, he's going to be good. So I think it's going to be, if you want to just talk target leaders, I think it's going to be, most likely Kincaid. Shakir is the safety blanket. Of course, he scored the touchdown. And I think Coleman has a chance. He just needs to, just get some more experience out there. But he has the right setup and situation, so we'll see what happens. So I still like Coleman, and I like Shakir.
He's young. Wait on.
Wait it out.
Troy, should I trade Jordan Mason while his value is high and be patient or sit on him?
Depends, man. I mean, if you're trying to trade Jordan Mason for Braylon Allen, right? Yeah, like if you're trying to trade him for Braylon Allen or Blake Corum, then no, I'd I'd hold with Mason. But I mean, if you can turn Jordan Mason into Jonathan Taylor, into a Travis Etienne or someone like that, then absolutely. Take a look at whoever the CMC owner has. It's hard sometimes to just trade straight up like running back for running back. So maybe you could target a wide receiver for a running back, because usually the teams that need running back have more wide receivers, which is why they need the running back, and vice versa. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. But we will get into that more on Wednesdays. Frank, do you have a quick take on that?
I would move on him. I'd go sell high while you can, get the most value, especially week one. People are panicking. Get a wide receiver 2 out of somebody. You know what I mean? I don't think you get a wide receiver 1, but you can get a wide receiver 2. See what you can pry. The guy that has CMC might want to handcuff this guy so he could just flip flop him when CMC is not starting. People feel comfortable that way. So you can probably just approach that owner or whoever's out there, trying to look to trade. I would do it. I think that you're going to be getting the most value out of him early, especially now.
For sure. And I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot more. I'm sure he might even be on our thumbnail for Wednesday's roster management buy, sell, trade show. So make sure you guys tune in for that. We'll be back here 9 p.m. Sorry to go so long tonight. Again, we're trying a different format. Again, a lot of stuff kind of happening. We get a little talk happy here with you guys going over this stuff. It's week one. So we're just all excited all around. So again, appreciate you, Frank, for coming out here with us tonight. And what else can I say, man? I mean, anything else you want to say, wrapping up week one, heading into week two?
Man, I finished 6 of 8. So I'm pretty happy about that. I think you're around the same number on your wins. Hopefully everybody else is getting their wins. I was positive.
I went 10 and 7.
That's good. That's good now. You got way too many teams, so it's like ridiculous.
Oh wait, no. 11 and 8. My bad. I went 10 and 7 in my sleeper leagues, and then I have the 2 Yahoo leagues for 19 total. So
there you go. That's
11 ridiculous. And 8. I split those 1-1.
But yeah, no, that's it, man. Let's wrap it up.
Stuff.
Let's hit it up on Wednesday. We got another show tomorrow. We got shows every day of the week now, so keep an eye out, guys. Put on the notifications.
Keep it tuned in. Absolutely. So from all of us here, man, over at Get Right Fantasy, we appreciate you guys for coming out. For Dustin, for Classic Mike, for Tycoon, for Phil and Kendall. Make sure you guys check out our boys over at the Fantasy Football Tavern with Kendall and Phil over at the Extra Point. The links are down in the description. Here's their logo, so make sure you guys go check them out and hit them with the subscribe as well too. They'll be live as well, taking your questions here, so make sure you have those notifications turned on for when Get Right goes live. So yeah, from all of us here, man, better luck if you need it in week 2 to all of us. So let's get it going. We'll see you back here Wednesday for roster management. For Frank and Rasta, we're out. See you on Wednesday.
Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves up.